From the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight as we continue to march forward toward the Broncos and the Seahawks. All sorts of fun banter back and forth. And, of course, this game with a ton of storylines and intrigue. National game. It's going to be in prime time. So, Ben, let's go ahead and start with what's most interesting thing to you when it comes to the Broncos versus the Seahawks coming up on Monday night.
Well, first of all, it's game week, so I'm already jacked.
Just football.
Yeah, football. It's a real live fire football. I'm just jacked about that. What's most the Russ Wilson revenge angle? I mean, everybody's tuning in for that, right? I mean, we were all here for the Drew Lock revenge angle, but that's been sadly taken from us. So we're all here for the Russell Wilson revenge angle, right? I mean, we want to see how Russ does. We want to see how Russ does against his former team. We want to see what this new offense actually looks like with the starters out there. I think there's a lot of things to choose from in terms of, what you've got your finger on, but everybody's going to say Russ, right?
It's got to be, yeah. And, of course, then there's the other side of it. Does Pete Carroll, because of his knowledge of Russ, and certainly he, as we know from history, is one of the biggest defenders of Russ, a guy that really was invested in Russ's future. How much does he factor into the way they're going to play against Russell Wilson?
No, in fact, at all. I mean, he does everything because it's the guy who knows him as a professional, the guy who turned him from a zone read college quarterback into a professional quarterback. Whatever you think about Pete Carroll, whatever you think about Russ Wilson, whatever you think about their departure and separation from each other, Pete Carroll knows Russell Wilson very well, and Russell Wilson knows Pete Carroll very well. And so I do think that you're going to see Pete Carroll on offense try to show that his system works, which is, hey, we're going to make Marty Schottenheimer look progressive in the pass game. And then, on the other side of the ball, they're going to try to contain Russ, and they're going to force him to play from the pocket, and they're going to vacate the middle of the field a little bit. They're going to say, here's the area we're going to let you throw. And so I think what you're going to see is a type of defense that plays, it's not really contained, but it's sort of a hesitant rush to the quarterback because Russ likes to lose that spin move and get out the back door of the kitchen. What you're going to see is sort of a wider arc and a contain with defenders on the line or the rush shading a little bit more outside to keep him contained. And then what you're going to see on the field out of the coverage unit is you're going to see guys shading the outside and giving up the inside a little bit until he picks them apart there and shows he can do it.
I think it's really fun about this game, too, is the added intrigue of we didn't get to see these guys during the preseason.
Right.
And what we've seen out in practice, training camp, and what our expectations are, it's a little bit different when you get on the field, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And these guys haven't really been hit yet, and so that's one of those things. I expect, and I've made a prediction on this game already, and I don't know if we're doing those here or not, but I project that the Broncos are going to win this football game, but they're going to start slow. And the halftime hot takers are going to be out there in full force on this game because you're going to have a team that probably starts a little bit slow. They might start fast on the script, but that second quarter probably going to be a little slow for them. They're not used to getting hit in the mouth. They're not used to taking those blows. The body's taking the wear and tear. You're still getting used to the communication with each other and all that kind of stuff in a real game atmosphere. It's got to be loud in Seattle. Oh, yeah. So I expect a more conservative first half from the Denver Broncos. I expect them to put the foot on the gas in the second half, and I'm predicting a 24-10 Broncos win.
Okay. I mean, I like that. And the cover, which is certainly important to throw that in there. But I think that you're onto something there, and not to mention the fact of trying to eventually take the Seattle crowd out of it. The best you can. Early on, they're going to be full-throated. It's going to be very difficult to get much accomplished there, and accepting that. I know that this week in practice, Nathaniel Hackett already said that the expectation is they're going to basically blast music as loud as possible out there in order to simulate that. But again, this is considered one of the most daunting stadiums to play in just for that reason.
The sound reaches 130 plus decibels. That's louder than standing next to a jet engine. It is very, very loud, and they have been blasting the music. I've heard that over the last couple of days, but it is a very tough environment. And some people will tell you go out and score right away. Go out and big play them, right? I disagree. Go out there and death by inches them. Let him with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. Hit him with that run game down there. Take the crowd out of it as you get first down after first down, and it starts to come down and come down and come down and come down. Take them out of it early with long, sustained drives, and you're going to have it much easier.
Looking at these two defenses, right, the Seattle defense and the Broncos defense. Broncos defense, of course, was pretty good last year. They were 8th in net yards per game. They were top 3 in points per game. Rushing, obviously, they were more middle of the pack, but against pass, they were top 10. They were 8th. They were red zone 3rd, right? And then the Seattle Seahawks were also a very good red zone defense at 4th. Across the board, though, mostly average numbers, which, again, going back to what Pete Carroll wants to be able to do, you'd almost be a little surprised to see those kinds of numbers, knowing that what he wants to be is very good defense, very good special teams, and a very good run game.
Yeah. The problem with Seattle's defense is they're going through a change. Last year, they were a 43 unit, played mostly cover 3. This year, they're going to a 34, and they probably want to play a little bit more middle of the field open, cover 2, cover 4, cover 6 type stuff. So they're going to be going through a bit of a change. They're going through a bit of a transition themselves. And so I think if you're the Denver Broncos, you want to test that. You want to test what areas are working for them and what not. Look at the personnel mismatches. They've got Puna Ford as a starting defensive end in a 34. That's a guy who's 5'10". I know Shelby Harris loves to get up there and block shots. I'm not seeing Puna Ford getting up there and dunking on Russ Wilson. Anytime you got an end that is shorter than your quarterback, that might be a problem. So, I think there are areas to take advantage of them, and I do believe that running on Seattle is going to be a key. As much as we want to see Russ cooking, maybe let him warm up some toast, or maybe let him make some sushi on that one, and then we'll see him cook against the Texans.
Meanwhile, on the other side of it, when you're talking about the Broncos defense going up against Geno Smith and the Seahawks offense, the thing about this game particularly is, what is it going to look like if Rashad Penny isn't as successful? He had a great closeout to the season last year. When he's on, he's a really good running back. And we don't know about the status of Kenneth Walker or any of those kinds of things yet. But it's kind of like, you know what they are. That's the thing about Seattle. It doesn't matter what quarterback was going to play in there, whether it was Drew Lock or Geno Smith. You know what they're going to try to do. What your goal is basically to make them one-dimensional, to tell them, you have to throw the ball. Now, again, that's DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. There's a big challenge there. But making them one-dimensional with Geno Smith certainly seems better than if they're getting push up front and they're being able to attack with the run game, which is something the Broncos did struggle with last year.
They did. No, the defense last year was designed to bait you into run, but you have to stop the run once you baited them into doing that.
Right.
It's a lower EPA per play, and the idea is to put them behind the chains, et cetera, et cetera. The problem is the defense wasn't able to stop the run, which is why we have DJ Jones, why we have K'Wan Williams. And you may be saying, why we have a corner to stop the run? Yeah, K'Wan, one of the best corners in terms of run fit in the game. And we all know K-Jack plays well against the run as well. So I believe that you're going to see a team that is intent on stopping that run and then forcing them into third and long. And third and long with Geno Smith is a gift to most modern defense.
That's going to be a win for the Broncos. And then, again, a lot of the storyline for this game is about the offense, about Russ, undeniably. But the defense, I think, is going to surprise some people. And maybe after the game, people will say, well, that's just the Broncos defense going up against Geno Smith and a limited offense there for the Seattle Seahawks. No, both can be true. They can be a very good defense, and they are given the opportunity to play against a quarterback that is not quite league average right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's a replaceable player. To wit, they went out and got Drew Lock to be that, and I expect Drew Lock to take over at some point. But I do believe that this defense is going to put their stamp on things. The offense is all that's been talked about this offseason, but the defense is champing at the bit. They're good. They're going to be good.
They're amped.
And they're eager to put their stamp on things.
They definitely are. All right, can't wait for it. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thanks for watching Broncos Country Tonight.
Denver's going to win it! You can stand up and salute in Denver, and you got the world champions that live in your town.